Hi everybody and welcome to another video from STEM School. So today we'll be looking at solving inequalities, and I'll explain exactly what they are and then do some exam questions so you know the sort of thing you could be asked in the exam. So yes, before I begin, please do remember to hit the like button and consider subscribing to the channel. I'll greatly appreciate that. Alright, so let's get started. So what are inequalities? Well, up to now, you will have solved equations to find the value of x or some other letter, alright? So you get an exact answer when you solve an equation. So you can have a simple equation like this. We can have, 3x is equal to 18, okay? We have an equal sign here, and if we want to find the value of x that satisfies this equation, you have to divide, both sides by 3. So x is equal to 18 divided by 3. And this will give us an answer of x is equal to 6, okay? So you just perform a variety of different operations to find the value of x, okay, to get x on its own side. Now, with inequations on the other hand, you don't have an exact answer for x after you do this exact same process of, rearranging the equation to get x on its own side, okay? So there are a few symbols that you'll end up dealing with for the inequalities topic, and they essentially replace the equal sign in the equation, okay? So the first one is this symbol here. Now this means is less than, okay? So say if I had x is less than 5, okay? So that's how you read it, x is less than 5, okay? Now let's go into the next one. We have this symbol here, so we can have x is greater than 5. That's how you'd read that. Now let's go with this one. So we have this symbol here, so we have a line underneath the arrow, okay? So this is read is less than or equal to, so x is less than or equal to 5, okay? Now similarly, you have this symbol, you have the line underneath the arrow, so what we have is x is greater than or equal to 5. Okay, so that's how you'd read it. Alright, so what is the method to actually work out inequalities? Well, it turns out that it's very simple, right? You perform operations to rearrange the equation so that x is on the left hand side by itself. So the important thing to remember with this is that when you divide both sides by a negative number, you reverse the inequality sign. And you'll see what I mean in the examples later on in this video, okay? And of course, lastly, you can always check your answer by substituting the value of x back into the original equation and then comparing the left-hand side and the right-hand side to see how the value of x satisfies the equation, okay? So those are just some things to keep in mind when approaching these questions. Alright, so let's dive into the first exam question then. So this question is telling us to solve algebraically the inequation. So we have 3x is less than 6 bracket x minus 1 then minus 12 on the end there. Alright, so what we have here is just a normal equation, right? But the equal sign is replaced with this less than symbol, okay? So you just treat it as normal. What you want to do is collect the x terms and collect the numbers and then get the x by itself on the left hand side, okay? That's the goal of this. So first things first, let's just write out the equation ourselves. So we have 3x is less than 6 bracket x minus 1 minus 12, okay? So how do we approach this? Well, we have brackets here that we can easily multiply out to get the x, okay? So let's do that. So we have 3x on the left hand side. Okay, let's multiply out the bracket. So we have 6x minus 6 minus 12, okay? Now what we can do is tidy up these numbers. So we have minus 6 minus 12. So what does that give us? So it'll be 6x minus 18, okay doke? So now what we can do is collect the x terms, okay? So we can take minus 6x to the left hand side, take the 6x to the left hand side. So 3x, take away 6x, we'll have minus 3x less than minus 18. Okay doke? Now we have a minus on both sides, so we can cancel them out. We can multiply this each side by minus 1. Okay, if you imagine it that way, so it'll be 3x is less than 18. Okay, that's a good tactic to remember if you have a minus on both sides, alright? Okay, so we have 3x is less than 18. It's very similar to what I did in the intro. What we want to do is divide both sides by by 3. So we have 18 divided by 3. So what does that give us? So we have x has to be less than 6 as our final answer. So we have x on the left hand side, okay? So that's the final answer, right? But if you're ever unsure about what you've done, it's good practice to always check your answer by substituting this value back into this original equation. And what you want to do is compare the left hand side and the right hand side. Bear in mind this symbol here, so you want that symbol to make sense, okay? The left hand side has to be less than the right hand side, okay? Alright, so let's have a go at this second question then. So we're told to solve algebraically the inequality 11 minus 2 bracket 1 plus 3x is less than 39, okay? So as I said, just treat it like a normal equation. Let's get the x on the left hand side by itself. Let's rearrange it. So let's first of all write the equation out ourselves. So 11 minus 2 bracket 1 plus 3x is less than 39, okay? So this is a typical format for, you know, the Scottish National 5, right? So anytime you see a brackets, just think I can multiply that out, okay? So let's do that. So we have 11, so we have minus 2 minus 6x is less than 39, okay? So just be careful with the negative with that. So what we can do is collect the numbers. So 11 minus 2 is 9, minus 6x is less than 39, okay? Now at this stage we can take the 39 on the right hand side over to the left hand side. So let's do that. So 9 minus 39 will be minus 30 minus 6x is less than 0, okay? So in this situation, what you can do, because you have the 0 on the right hand side, so if you imagine an equal sign, when you see this situation, you can think, well, I can factorize it. I can take a common factor out if it's possible. So if you look at the numbers, it's written in an awkward way, but what we can do is take a common factor of minus 6 out. So let's do that. So we have minus 6, so if we want to factorize this, so it will be 5 plus x is less than 0. So you can just double check this. So minus 6 times 5 will give you the minus 30. Minus 6 times x will give us a minus 6x. So we have factorized this correctly, alright? Now what we want to do is we want to get the x on the left hand side by itself, okay? So let's get rid of this number in front of the brackets. What we do is we want to divide both sides by minus 6, okay? But this is one of the tips that I put in the method section, okay? So when you divide by a negative number, the inequality sign has to be reversed, okay? So if I divide both sides by minus 6, that will vanish on this side, so leaving 5 plus 6. Now what we have to do is reverse the sign, so it'll be, instead of less than, it'll be greater than. So 0 divided by minus 6 will again be 0, okay? So this is the stage you have to remember. It's a step you can easily miss out, but the more practice you get, the better. Okay, so we have 5 plus x is greater than 0. We want to put the 5 on the right hand side, so let's do that. So it'll be x has to be greater than minus 5 as our final answer, okay? And again, all you have to remember, if you want to check this, you just substitute minus 5 back into this original equation and just compare the left hand side and right hand side, okay? So yeah, this example, just remember, anytime you divide by a negative number, you reverse the sign here, okay? Okay, so now we have the final question, which is telling us to simply solve 8 is greater than 3 minus half x, alright? So hopefully in these examples you'll have seen that, you know, you might have to multiply out brackets, you might have to then factorize back into brackets, okay? So those are the two things you could have to do in these questions, right? So bearing that in mind, let's have a go at this question. So let's write it out ourselves. So 8 is greater than 3 minus half x. Now I don't normally like writing fractions out, and I'm normally like just writing it as a decimal, okay? Bearing in mind we might have to factorize this later on, okay? So it's a bit easier to understand. So now what we can do is collect the numbers, okay? So let's take the 8 to the right hand side. So we have 0 is greater than, so 3 take away 8, we have minus 5 minus 0.5x, okay? Now what we can do is take a common factor of minus a half out, okay? So by writing the half as a decimal, it might be easier for you to easily recognize that you can take a common factor out, okay? So let's do that. So if we take a common factor of minus 0.5 out, what do we get? So minus 0.5 times what is equal to minus 5? Well, it will be 10, okay? Then minus 0.5 times what is equal to minus 0.5x? Well, it'll just be plus x, okay? So you can double check that by multiplying that out again to check you get this line of working, okay? So now to get rid of the minus 0.5 in front of the bracket, we divide both sides by minus 0.5. So again, this is a step you need to remember. When you divide both sides by a negative number, you reverse the inequality sign. So it'll be 0 is less than, okay? So when you divide the right hand side by minus 0.5, it will vanish, leaving 10 plus x, okay? So what we can do is we can take the 10 to the left hand side, so it'll be minus 10 is less than x, but of course it's normal practice to give your answer with the x on the left hand side. So minus 10 is less than x, which is pretty much the same way as saying x is greater than minus 10. Okay, so that's our final answer there. Okay everyone, so those are the typical questions you should expect to see for this topic in the exam, and please do remember to hit the like button and subscribe to the channel, and I'll see you in my next video where we'll be looking at the straight line equation, so I'll see you guys then.